Hello, this is Sazi coming at you from Truth Consequences, New Mexico.
A democratic republic is the rarest form of government on earth. Democracies are fragile. Democracies can fail. And what citizens do or fail to do in a moment of crisis can determine the final fate of government of, by, and for the people.
To meditate, in other words, to isolate oneself from the current social and political issues of your own country, to get into your own bubble, to forget about troubles of the world. Obviously, KGB was very fascinated with such a beautiful school, such a brainwashing center for stupid Americans. I was a whole process, which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological war.
Fighting war on a battlefield is the most stupid and primitive way of fighting a war. The highest art of warfare is not to fight at all,
Definitely check him out on YouTube.
but to subvert anything of value in your enemy's country. Anything. Put white against black, old against young, wealthy against poor, and so on. Doesn't matter. As long as it disturbs society, as long as it cuts the moral fiber of a...
We are stronger united. That's why they're trying to turn us against the idea.
Russia is actually a pretty small country, especially when compared to a unified Western world. But Putin knows that if he can pit the West against itself and break up our alliances, Russia is suddenly much more powerful and can take on other countries one by one. He's trying to reshape the world order in his favour, and disinformation is one of his favourite.
From our team, the Russian media are simply picking up what the president has said, and which is based on a lot of false and misleading information, and broadcasting it back around the world and into the United States. So they are spreading basically the president's comments as propaganda.
It's a pretty simple 7-step method. We are told to just believe it's all good while the president's creating propaganda with disinformation.
Being trained in that school is much more instrumental in the hands of manipulators of public opinion and KGB than a normal person who understands, who looks through this type of fake religious trainings. Most of the burning issues of today can be solved simply by meditating. Don't rock the boat. Don't get involved. Just sit down, look at your navel, and meditate. And the things, due to some strange logic, due to cosmic vibration, will settle down by themselves.
Do not fear! This virus is the Spirit of God.
Don't receive it when somebody threatens you with everybody's getting the flu. We've already had our shot. I'll never have the flu. Put words, inoculate yourself with the Word of God.
Their opinion, attention, and mental energy from real issues of the United States into a non-issues, into a non-world, non-existent harmony. Obviously, it's more beneficial for the Soviet aggressors to have a bunch of duped Americans than Americans who are self-conscious, healthy, physically fit, and alert to the reality. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi obviously is not on the payroll of the KGB. But whether he knows it or not, he contributes greatly to demoralization of American society. There are hundreds of those gurus who come to your country to capitalize on naivete and stupidity of Americans. It's a fashion. It's a fashion to meditate. It's a fashion not to be involved. And we discovered that, yes, there are some public opinion makers of United States. Indians themselves look upon them as idiots, useful idiots. To say nothing about KGB, who looked at them as extremely naive, misguided people.
Yeah, and that's no surprise. The Russians are basically interested in one thing, which is to undermine the United States of America in any way they can. They're our adversary, they're our enemy, and they're going to continue to try to spread false information about the United States. I think the key is that the American people, we know who we are. We know what we've been able to do for 240 years. And I think there's tremendous faith in our institutions and our ability to survive as a democracy. And that's what's important. Look,
Putin hates anything Western, liberal, and most especially American. He would like nothing more than to see his biggest enemy crumble from the inside and allow an ultra-right-wing fascist regime come into power, using our freedoms against us and quite literally repeating history from 100 years ago, just to prove how stupid we are and unable to recognize that we're blatantly being used against ourselves. So this is the deal.
Active measures designed to subvert and deceive, to disinform the public opinion upon which our democracies are built.
If you're buying into any of this,
2020 election, if you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, they're looking at them.
if you're buying into any of this, you're fighting against America. And it needs to stop. We all need to put a filter on our brains because Russia is out there. They are trying to influence us. This is the new warfare. We are at war. We have to decide who we are going to fight for. We have to fight for each other. If anything is out there that is designed to divide us, to weaken us, to get Trump elected, to destroy our institutions, that's coming from a secretive or an anonymous place that's pushing this stuff, they're part of the fight against America. Ignore them, block them, speak up against them. Enough already. So this is working way too well, which is why I'm here. There's way too much hate being thrown at each other. Way too easy.
It's a great brainwashing
It's like a cult at this point, and I'm not sure I blame anybody because it is the warfare that's behind it.
To change the perception of reality of every American.
Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts
Just
to that.
remember, what you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening.
I would love to show Russia that they're wrong. They are flat wrong. I would love to show them that we are not that dumb. That we are not the idiots. That we do not fall for this shit. That when we know that this is happening, that they are not able to play us like absolute fiddles and absolute puppets, that America and governing by the people and for the people does work, that we can have freedoms and not destroy ourselves with them, that we will not stand for them or anyone to screw with us, our elections, or our country and use us as soldiers in their war. They have grossly underestimated the strength and the power of Americans. Our diversity is our strength. We can do this together.
A democratic republic is the rarest form of government on earth. Democracies are fragile. Democracies can fail. And what citizens do or fail to do in a moment of crisis can determine the final fate of government of, by, and for the people. So let's do our best, vote, but this time we got to stay vigilant and active. Even after the ballots have been counted, we got to stay active all the way through to Inauguration Day. You're going to have to go outside and demonstrate and march and protest. Please do it peacefully. This is not just philosophy or morality. A lot of studies have shown that it's the peaceful protests that are more successful at challenging these would-be dictators and reversing coup attempts. It's the peaceful ones. Why? Because when the protests turn violent, all that chaos and carnage, it actually chases away supporters. So rather than the demonstrations getting bigger and the protests getting bigger, they start to shrink. then the government looks reasonable when it cracks down. So it's actually a lot better to follow the guidance of the late, great Gene Sharp. Now, he has written beautifully and well about how strategically you can roll back a coup just using very smart, very disciplined, very nonviolent protest. And a lot of called a new guidebook called Hold the Line. You can look it up. It's called Hold the Line, the Guide to Defending Democracy. You can get that at holdthelineguide.com.